And we're back. Senator Bernie Sanders, Roland Martin's question. Do you need us to repeat it about HBCUs?
No, I think I got it. In terms of
Okay.
HBCUs, I am very, very strongly supportive. They are playing a phenomenal role in providing an education to a lot of young people who otherwise would not have it. I am also very supportive of making public colleges and universities tuition-free, some of which are HBCUs. But at the end of the day, in America, if we want to compete in a competitive global economy, we've got to make sure that every young person in this country gets a higher education, regardless of the income of their family, if they have the ability and the qualifications to do so. Too many of our kids now are not getting their college education because they can't afford it. Others are leaving school deeply, deeply in debt, and that's an issue that we are focusing on very heavily in this campaign.
What about charters and vouchers, which black parents are extremely supportive of, almost
If they
80%?
are for private institutions, I do not support them because they are undermining public education in general. If they were within the context of public education, I do support it.
So you support public charter schools?
Yes, but not
Okay.
private.
Okay.
And if you talk a lot about free education. If you have free education, how will that affect HBCUs?
Those private
Well, first of all,
HBCUs.
a lot of it's not free education. It is making sure that public colleges and universities are tuition free. Today, a college degree in many respects is the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. And I think every kid in this country who has the ability and the desire should be able to get a higher education regardless of the income of his or her families. So we are going to be very supportive of the HBCUs, number one. Number two, those that are public will have a situation where tuition will be free.
Okay. Reverend Al Sharpton in New York.
Yeah, Senator Sanders, let me ask this. You talked a lot when you met with civil rights leadership, and you've been talking in the campaign about criminal justice, particularly about nonviolent offenders in mandatory time, and about police abuses and the need for police reform.
Yeah.
In light of that, what type of attorney general would you appoint? What, based on your announced platform in those areas, would you require of an attorney general that you would appoint? And if you were elected and you had one or two openings on the Supreme Court, would any of that be in your consideration as part of what you would want to hear from a potential Supreme Court justice that you would nominate?
Thank you very much for that excellent question. An attorney general of mine would be extraordinarily aggressive in attacking a broken criminal justice system. It is absolutely insane that today we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, 2.2 million people. Among many other things, I want to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Too many lives have been destroyed because people get police records. I want to end that. In terms of police department reform, we're going to hold police officers accountable if they break the law. Anytime an individual is killed, whether being apprehended by the police or in police custody, that would call for a Department of Justice investigation. We will have model programs which make police departments look like the communities that they serve in terms of their diversity. Your point is a very good point about mandatory sentencing. Too many people have been sent away for too long in that regard. What we also want to do is deal with this horrific rate of recidivism. People are coming out of jail. They're getting back into the same environment they got them into jail in the first place. We need people to have the education and the job training they need so they can create strong lives and constructive lives once they are on the outside. In terms of the Supreme Court, I regard our broken criminal justice system and the need to reform that as one of the major issues facing this country. And obviously, who I appoint to the Supreme Court would have to be prepared to address those issues.
Okay. Jacque Reid from New York. Jacque?
Yes. Good morning, Senator Sanders. Now, the Detroit News and others are blaming the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, for having a huge role in the Flint water crisis, specifically for knowing for an incredibly long time how dangerous the water actually was, but not saying anything to the public. Now, you've been paying close attention to what's been going on in Flint. You've even asked for Governor Snyder's resignation. But beyond that, some are saying for a long time that the EPA is useless, others calling it corrupt. Do you think the EPA is corrupt? And as president, would you revamp that agency or eliminate it altogether?
Obviously, I would not eliminate it altogether. The people who are calling it corrupt are right-wing people who want the opportunity to pollute our environment, to maintain fossil fuels in this country, and it's the right wing that wants to eliminate it. Could the EPA be doing much, much more? Absolutely. Look, I was in Flint. I had a town meeting in Flint. I met with some parents of kids from Flint. What I heard, I have to tell you, Jacque, was almost beyond belief. As I listened to people talk, I could not believe that they were living in the United States of America in the year 2016. Their children are being poisoned. The intellectual capabilities of their children are in decline. So to answer your question, we have to strengthen the EPA. What we have to do is make sure that as a country we control pollution. We don't allow our corporations to put their pollution into our water, our air, our land. Furthermore, in terms of Flint, if the local government there doesn't have the resources, if the state government, and I have asked for the governor's resignation, is unprepared or is not interested in helping the people of Flint, then the federal government has got to move in very, very aggressively. These people need to have new water pipes. They need to make sure that their kids and the adults there are being checked out for potential lead poisoning. There is an enormous amount of work that has to be done.
How long do you think the federal government should wait before they move in aggressively? I mean, this has been going on for a long time.
Jacque, I would say very, very quickly. I was just there a few days ago. It is a disaster. The state government does not have the inclination or the desire to help. I don't think the local government has the resources. Federal government should move in aggressively.
Okay, Sybil Wilkes.
Senator, thank you very much for your time. I wanted to know about the role of black women in your administration, and especially in terms of dealing with some of the issues facing black women, and how you are going to work on this pay gap. We know that women in general make 78 cents to the dollar for men, and black women even less. How are you going to be able to help in bridging this gap?
We are going to make a cabinet look like America, and there are a lot of black women in America, and they're going to be on the cabinet. The issue you raise is a very profound and important issue. Nationally, as you've just indicated, it's about 78 cents on the dollar compared to men. For women, for African-American women, that gap is much, much wider. I believe absolutely that we need pay equity in this country. No reason, except for old-fashioned sexism plus racism, that an African-American woman is earning 30, 40 cents less on the dollar than the white guy sitting next to them. So pay equity for women is a very important goal of a Sanders administration. And on top of that, having a cabinet that is diverse, that looks like America, which certainly will include black women, is something that I will...
A black female running mate?
Well, that's a little bit early to talk about that right now. Right now, I got to win the Democratic nomination, and after that, we can talk about that. But first things first.
Because we have names.
What?
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you very much for this interview.
Okay, Tom. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.